Hi guys, it's Ben Ridley here. I've got Luke Jeffers with me today. Now Luke is going to talk us through the way that we go about enrolling our kids in school, and we're going through that process right now, Luke. Just a bit about myself, guys. My current situation is I've got a 3.5-year-old, so we're now looking at that situation and thinking about primary schools. So Luke Jeffers is the assistant principal at Mildura West Primary School, which is my old stomping ground.
Yep,
so,
great school.
Yeah, great school. Yeah, Mildura West is the best. So so it's going to be really good to just get some helpful hints from Luke today about how you go about obviously selecting a primary school, and it's a very big decision for us. So hopefully you can point us in the right direction as well.
Happy to help out, Ben.
So, Luke, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been a teacher for, where you obviously did your schooling and whatnot, and then we can move on to some serious questions.
I've been at Mildura West for 6 years now, in the assistant principal role for 2. Prior to that, I was working for the Department of Education, which brought me up to Mildura as a teaching and learning coach of all things, so sort of travelled around to a few schools and played a bit of footy, but that was nearly behind me now. I think I'm getting a bit old. So, and before that, I worked in Macedon, around the Macedon Ranges, and my parents and obviously myself grew up in Melbourne. So,
so quite a bit of experience behind you. Yes. Well, you've got a young family yourself, so you've got your lovely wife Leah, and 2 children now.
The one.
The one
children.
So, sorry, Leah was telling me that
we'll
she was
be working
after.
on a few
okay,
more,
no,
so
that's all right.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yep.
And how old's your child?
Jimmy he's 9 months old now, so still a little while away before we'll be enrolling him in school. But having friends like Ben and around that same sort of demographic, it's a question I've been asked a lot of times about what's the process and some tips around what we should be looking for with enrolling your child in school.
Well, thank you very much for helping us out today. I know you're a busy man, but we'll get into it. I suppose the first thing that we're looking at now is we're wondering at what age should we start registering our children for primary schools, and can you register them at more than one school, or can you register them at a number of schools? How does it all work?
Yep, a good question. There's probably a few answers to that. The first thing is around the age. Students have to be enrolled at a school when they're 6 years of age, so that's by law they have to be starting school at 6 years of age. You can enrol a child in a school on the 30th of April is the cut-off date.
Okay, yep.
They've got to turn 5 before that date. So
my boy,
anything
just
after
sneak
that,
in there. I think it is.
So,
I don't think I know. Is the 19th of April. So okay.
So
that's
and I guess that is one of the most common questions we get asked and have a discussion about. The best answer is really chat with the school.
Yep.
Each child is obviously their own unique individual. So it's really important that the school gets the context of how your child is. Not only cognitively and how they are with learning their names and alphabets and reading. A lot of parents have anxiety that they need to know the alphabet, know their names, and know all this. But there's that side of it, but also socially as well. So if you are got a child who's a bit younger and looking to enrol them as a 5-year-old, that probably is a really good discussion to have with the school and the principal and sort of see how they feel. My tip is usually we encourage them to stay and go the year after, so they're a little bit older. But as I said, each child is their own individual. So
my boy is, and so we're now going in. We're enrolling into a 4-year-old kinder next year.
Yep.
So would we be wise to start looking at putting his name down at schools, or what would be the steps for us from this point here?
Yep. It's always encouraged to go to your local neighbourhood school. In Mildura, we're spoilt with schools that are doing an amazing job. We've got teachers who work hard and led by leadership teams who know the right work. We work well as a network. So the best thing is, for obvious reasons, to go to your neighbourhood school. That's where the local kids are going to be. You can easily access the school, whether it's the way they transport or even just facilities and stuff like that. So
with that, that works into your school zones, does it, Luke?
So each school's got a zoning area. So that's the best advice, and that's sort of the way we go about things is to go to your local school. And as I said, Victoria is now the education state. It's not just
good.
on number plates, but that means that there's a lot of resources and a lot of money put into schools. So we have fantastic, well-resourced schools, and you know, it is the number one priority to make sure preps have a fantastic transition into school. So
it'd be an important age at that such a young mind. It would be.
So I guess to answer that question, there will be places in schools in your local neighbourhood school, and you know, you can have a look, and it's wise to start getting around and having a look at some schools and getting a feel for a school. But as far as putting a name down, that really doesn't happen until that sort of year before they're getting ready to enter school.
We don't have to rush into it just yet. That's okay.
Yeah, but we're happy to take questions from 3 or 2 year olds and have those discussions, because it is something that definitely plays on parents' mind. And as I said, schools make that priority. So
that's good.
Having a good transition to school is so important, and it's the most important year.
So if we were to pop down to one of our local schools, obviously our local school would be Mildura West still.
Yep.
So it's quite easy to be able to have a meeting with the school to be able to obviously find out that transition period. It's from what you're saying, you obviously make that a bit of a priority.
Yep, absolutely. So schools will have orientation days, and that's for students who are enrolled, and that's their school of choice they're going to. Typically they could be 3 up to 6 days. At Mildura West we have 5 orientation days. Before that, there is information evenings or sometimes information days where you can come along and tour the school. And if those aren't convenient to you, ring up the school and book a tour. Schools are more than happy. Anne and I, the principal at Mildura West, spend a lot of time this time of year taking families around. I just had a new family to Mildura and just finished chatting with them before I came here. So
it would be a busy time of year. For those of you that don't know, it's nearly the start of December, but I'd imagine that would be a very busy time for orientation and new people coming in. So if you're unsure of what your school zone is, if you live in an area where you might be close to a couple of different schools, is there a way that you can find out which school you are actually zoned to?
Yep, you can visit the school that you're closest to, so that's what I would advise. If it's,
the logical
one,
one,
come in, just pop in. Schools have a zone map. It's not something that's that I'm aware of that's out on the internet or anything like that at the moment, but
I haven't found it.
No. So pop in and see the school and have a chat to them, and they'll take it from there.
So for people that are new to this, obviously myself and my wife Deanna, this is a new experience going around and looking at primary schools. What are some of the more common questions you probably get asked from first time primary school parents such as ourselves?
It's a great question. There's a lot. I guess the main thing is we sort of ask the question back is what's important to you as a parent. So and as I said, each school, we have a common curriculum and a lot of things that are common, but each school has a bit of a feel. So I guess questions are important to ask are around schools' discipline policies and homework policies, and does that side with your values as well? Also how the students are cared for socially and emotionally. There's a lot of research around that now about student readiness for learning and how much that can impact on their academic side. So just how they're supported in not only the core curriculum stuff, but it's a
big decision, isn't it? I mean, it's one of those daunting things, and the reason we're doing these interviews with people such as yourself is I think it's probably one of the most important decisions that you'll make as a parent, and it's probably the one that gives you probably nearly the most anxiety. So again, we're a couple of years away from that, but all the information that you're giving to us is hugely beneficial. There are people that obviously of faith that will send their children to schools of faith. Are they working in a similar manner in regards to school zones and these types of things? Is it fairly similar to say a Mildura West or a Mildura South and these commonly known state schools? Is it a fairly similar process?
I mean, coming from the government system, what I know is that they still have their zones. So, and the advice I would say is to visit the school that's closest to you if you're from a particular faith and looking for that religious side of schooling. yeah, that would be the way to go and visit them and find out about their zones. And the process would be very similar, enrolments and orientation days and school tours. So yeah, each school is now, I guess, also in the digital age. It's not hard to access schools and actually find out what they're about. We have a Facebook page at our school and a website that's got a lot of detail on it. So I would encourage parents out there that you can find a lot out before you actually go to the school. So pays to do your research, and there's a lot of information out there. So
we are in the research and digital age now, so you're getting to that. I suppose where you're finding things a lot easier than you would in the past. So you're able to obviously access a lot more information and help make that decision a bit easier. Getting the kids ready for school. What are some of the things that you'd recommend? And obviously you're seeing children starting off at such a young age, generally 5 years old. What are probably the best things for parents to do to prepare their kids for that? I mean, it's a very big transition for a child as well.
I guess not only think about just that step of getting into a routine of school, but students and children that come to school who have been read to and had a lot of experience with literature do find school transition have more success, and obviously to get off to a better start at school, we want them to fly, because if a student is behind starting prep going into one, it is hard to catch up. So flood the house with literature, read, sing, all those things that make dads uncomfortable sometimes, but in the long run,
very good storybook reader.
But also getting them ready for school is just those routines, packing the bags. In talking to a lot of parents, they find that's a bit of a fun thing, and turning into a game, and how quickly you can get your lunchbox ready and stuff and ready at the door. So
driving them young. That's good.
So, and again, it's important that the kids have a very good orientation. So even if they miss a session or two, schools prioritise prep year, so they're more than happy to give extra time, even if parents are saying, "Oh, I'm not sure." They seemed happy, but they're coming home in tears. Don't keep that a secret. There's it's a partnership together, and the parents and school working together means that the child's going to benefit. So.
Well, that's right, and you've got to be comfortable where you're sending your child to start their schooling off. Well, I think that's about all we have time for today, Luke, but I really want to thank you very much for taking the time out. I know it's a very busy part of your year, and hopefully for you guys that are watching, this does help you in some way to understand the process of getting the right school for your child, and also the process of being able to select and choose the school. So hopefully you find some helpful tips. I know I have, and I know that my wife will as well. So thanks very much, guys.